Did you know that approximately 90% of startups fail within their first year? Despite the staggering odds, some visionary entrepreneurs beat these odds and carve out their path to success. Today, we're diving into the world of startups with a seasonal entrepreneur who's not just beating the odds, but setting new standards for success. Get ready to dive into the entrepreneurial journey of a leader who's all about building businesses and transforming lives. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Ryan Angott, a dynamic entrepreneur with a wealth of experience and a passion for sharing his knowledge with emerging business leaders. With a background deeply rooted in innovation and business acumen, Ryan has harnessed the power of learning from the best, including his dad, a world-class entrepreneur with an impressive list of patents. This invaluable mentorship has propelled Ryan to launch successful products and companies, marking him as a true visionary in the entrepreneurial landscape. What sets Ryan apart is his unwavering commitment to empower startups and small businesses, leveraging cost-effective strategies like virtual staffing in the Philippines to double your profitability. But beyond the boardroom, Ryan's true North Star is his beautiful family, who fuels his drive to succeed and explore life's adventures. Join us as we delve into Ryan's journey, uncovering the secrets to his success and gaining invaluable insights into the entrepreneurial mindset. So grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired as we embark on this enlightening conversation with Ryan Angott. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Beverly. What an intro. Wow. You must be drinking this morning or something. That's what I said. Man, I hate my podcast. There you go.
I set the bar high. Good.
Yeah. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for those kind words.
Well, I think it's important. I've known your dad before I knew you, which is interesting. Like I met him when I did work with Automation Alley. Well, I mean, years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And then I met you when you were working with Ovation.
Yep.
And I didn't put the connection together at first. And then I realized, oh, they're family. That's great. Yeah. Let's discover how you got started and your journey. Share a little bit about how your career began and how it moved into entrepreneurship, because it wasn't immediate.
No, my dad's great. He's old school. He's now 75. So he's in the lab, just always working. He's an inventor. He's truly an inventor. So I would say really my entrepreneur journey started with my dad. This is kind of a cute story. When I was 15 years old, I'm now 42. So a long time ago in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad at the time, he was a CEO of his own company that he started, Mango Products. Ironically, they sold consumer security products, which were now in that category with TechLok, alarm systems and different, like alarms for homes and like some personal device security stuff. But when I was 15, so this is like 96, he bought and this is more of the story, is find your competitive advantage and go to a market where there's no competition. Leverage your resources. That's something I'm big on. He bought a CD-ROM burner. And this is like, 27 years ago. No one had one. They were really expensive, but he bought one for his business. And I found out, and I was, you're a kid, teen. I was like really into music. I had a ton of CDs that I had bought. I was just into music. And light bulb went off and I go, a ROM burner? Wait, you can copy CDs? Oh. Instead of buying a CD, I didn't really think about the legal aspect of it 27 years ago. I'm buying CDs at Harmony House, if that,
right,
is a nostalgic name or what, for $22. I could buy a blank CD for $2, duplicate it, and resell it at my high school out of my locker. The light bulb went off when I was 15, and that was my destiny ever since, that I knew I had a little entrepreneurship in me. And believe it or not, Beverly, in that first year after he shut me down and found out I was doing some high volume, I think I did $8,000 in sales out of my locker in high school. I had music lists, and I would literally go around, and I became known as the kid in high school. People wanted music. Everyone started coming to me and dude, we hear you. And I sold my CDs for $6. Probably should have sold them for 10, but sold them for 6, made them for 2, nice margin. And I cleaned up. And that was the first bite of the entrepreneur bug 27 years ago. My dad found out, and he's like, you're done, shutting it down. So anyhow, that's where it all started.
So I hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs. Like I actually sold friendship bracelets. I sold friendship bracelets and it was awesome because I would do babysitting and I would make bracelets with my
Smart.
kids that I babysat. So I used like child labor and everything.
Child labor, Beverly. Look at you.
They loved it because it was like a craft. So it was
Yeah.
it was like a twofer.
You're getting paid to babysit. They're doing the work for you. They're authentic, homemade, and they're keeping them busy. That checked $3. I'm all about
Right.
that.
It was awesome. My mom thought it was brilliant. She was like, that's great. So what drives your passion for business? And obviously your dad has always been part of that. Did he kind of instill that in you? Or is that something that you think that was self-created?
You know, you're a product of your environment is pretty common. And my dad's had some ups and downs in his career. He's like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I mean, when you talk about bold, big ideas, the projects he's worked on, you know, the world's first self driving commercial lawnmower, a breast cancer detection system. It's not like he's inventing the crop, which is like our ShamWow, some little widget that's easy. He goes after these monster projects, which is a good thing and a bad thing from what I've seen. The bigger the project, the higher stakes poker. And I'm kind of living it now with TechLok. But, you know, so it was kind of what I knew, what I grew up with. He was always, didn't start that way. He did little side hustles. I've had probably four, I think in my, call it 20-year career since college, I probably had 4 or 5 businesses, little stuff. Obviously TechLok's a whole different animal and SaaS is much different. But so it was kind of baked in my DNA. He was Entrepreneur of the Year in Michigan from Automation Alley about 10 years ago. And, you know, when you have that type of influence in your life, you're able to learn a lot in the driver's seat from somebody that just lives in the grind. I've seen him raise money. I've seen bankruptcies. I've seen successes. I've seen him buy his first Ferrari. I've seen it all over my life. And it's got pros and cons.
Which I know is more than just that now. Like it's moved into some other things. There's learning in all those moments, right? When you're really successful, there's learning. When you're in the dirt of it all, there's success. There's things you can learn. So what have you learned in this process that you think is really powerful about business and life?
Boy, there's that loaded question. You know, I was very tactical. One, on the reason why I did 2 businesses. I didn't go looking for the second business. So I started TechLok with my dad about five years ago as an idea. And we tinkered with it. It's before COVID. COVID really, really hurt us bad, which I can go into as a lesson learned. But you think about the journey and how can you complement? How do things go in hand in glove? And one good example of that was, you know, we're at TechLok and we're scrambling, we're working away. And it was about 2 years ago, maybe even 2.5 years ago. I was like, shoot, I just had I had a local admin assistant helping me with social media, project research, filling out forms, a lot of just lower level work that wasn't great use of my time. And I wasn't great at it. The social game is, I think, better suited for a younger person that lives in it all the time, stuff like that. And it was after my 3rd admin, I was paying like $20 an hour, kind of flaked out of me. No call, no show. They just said, I'm out. I trained out. I'm like, I can't keep somebody here. And I've had a couple people like that recently in other parts for SaaS, but that's another story. And I'm building this company, TechLok, which I have a grandiose vision to be 100 million in sales within 5 years. We're going to need a lot of help in staffing. At the time, I could stomach taking on something else. And then I got a cold email from the Philippines from Regine, the owner of Strategic Assistant Staffing, saying, hey, Ryan, we cater to entrepreneurs for $7 an hour. We can do your social media, appointment setting, all the stuff I was looking for. I was like, McDonald's paying 15. What am I going to get? But for $7 an hour, let's give it a shot for a month. And I didn't go looking for that business. It kind of found me, and it turned out to be a true, like your story earlier, Bev, about a win-win, checking multiple boxes, and SaaS does that. And I encourage people to think along their journey on ways that they can either amplify or complement other things that they're doing. So I hired SaaS 2 years ago for $7 an hour. My assistant, Christina, who's still my assistant to this day, I have bumped her up in pay. We have a different tiered pricing model. $7 to like $12 an hour, kind of depending on a few factors. She's been one of the best employees I've ever had. And I go, wow, this just saves me a ton of time. It's a third of the cost I was paying. It's month to month. We have something here. We've got a huge labor problem in the US, and entrepreneurs like me, I can't afford to hire somebody full-time or even part-time was tough. A lot of people didn't want it. They wanted stability. They didn't want to work for a startup. And the greatest challenge startups have is getting people to buy into their vision and give up their other career, especially 3-4 years ago or a couple of years ago when the labor market was really tough. Now it's gotten a little looser. I could build an army of qualified, good people over there that I can help with a partnership, get trained up, have my own kind of in-house recruiting arm of TechLok, and essentially pay a rate that's a fraction of what it is here, month to month. It just checked off all the boxes. Oh, by the way, I could be an owner and also make money off that staffing agency. It was a win-win. And that really has been a key to our success. When I say maybe I said it earlier, we have 12 employees. Half of them are actually out of the Philippines. A startup like me can't afford 12 people here locally. If people are making even 60, 70 grand a year, which is light for the type of caliber people we're looking for, that's a very big payroll monthly. We just don't have it. So having a resource like in the Philippines where I can pay, I think our 6 full or part-time people a month collectively is like $5,000 a month for 6 people. You talk about value and helping do my social media, sales appointment setting, project research. We have 2 executive assistants. So that organically complemented TechLok, but it also opened up my eyes for a new business. And that was kind of the 2-for-1 that I look at as a win-win-win. And that was a good story. And I really recommend that for entrepreneurs. You go along your way, be open-minded, because I wasn't looking to get into the staffing business out of the Philippines. I saw an opportunity. I saw how it could benefit TechLok, and then we formed a great partnership, and the rest is history.
I think one thing that entrepreneurs are really good at is being open to opportunity and connection, whatever that looks like. So how do we help each other? What can happen here? And building on those connections and networks. If they're successful, I believe that they are always looking for the opportunity and the connection. And It comes in really interesting ways, right? So here was a challenge. And so many entrepreneurs, myself included, struggle with the payroll side of the business. It's the most expensive cost I have. And it's the most important. You need good people to help you build your business. I mean, that's just, it's as easy as that, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter how hard I try, I can't clone myself unless your dad has figured that out yet.
Yeah.
I cannot clone myself.
He's probably working on it.
So I'm sure he is in his lab. I think that is probably the hardest thing for entrepreneurs is to clone themselves and to try to get people to work with them with the same passion and, drive and desire that you have or similar in that. So one of the biggest issues that entrepreneurs have for sure. What has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome and how did you get past it?
COVID really hurt our business. We got into TechLok was the aha idea that I had. And then I said, Dad, what are your thoughts about this? And we've spitballed for years about ideas and we've pursued some and then we either say, there's too much competition, too expensive, can't make it work. That was the beauty of having a true inventor as my dad that I can always talk with. And you want a brilliant guy that can sketch up an idea. No, this arm goes here and we can make it this cost and fabricate it this way. He's got a real gift. Blessing and a curse because he can't shut it off. He has a hard time sleeping and everything else that comes with having a really busy creative mind. But we got into TechLok and it's kind of father son. Okay, this should be a few $100,000 project. Maybe $500,000 all in. We could probably fund most of this, if not half of it, which we did. We personally have $300,000 into TechLok and between him and I, and in 5 years of no pay, we think we can do this. We got some prototypes made and going back right before COVID, we only had like $50,000 in. And then we go, okay, the market's been validated. There's a huge need. There's very little competition. The competition out there is stale, stagnant. It hasn't changed in 30 years. That the cable lock hasn't adapted. It doesn't work. It doesn't evolve. We have something here. And you get a lot of feedback from people. You just don't blast them. We did surveys and talked to people and all sorts of stuff. And then we go, okay, let's pursue this thing in mass scale. And then COVID hit and we're like, okay, everything's shut down. We were just at that point where we're trying to bring this product to mass manufacturing. So what you have, Bev, is you can build, we built a couple prototypes here that worked pretty good for like $4 or $5 grand. That's a one-off custom job. And then you build one, you prove it out, you tweak it, and then you go, okay, we got it. Let's go mass manufacture them in the tens of hundreds of thousands. That's way different than building one or two locally. And we tried building them in the US. We couldn't get the price. You really can't build a consumer electronic product here to be competitive price wise, which I could go into. But I think most people know that TVs and DVD players and all that was built overseas for a reason. It's literally 4 times more expensive building it here than overseas. So as COVID started, we go, oh, okay, well, we can't go to the factory. And my dad's been overseas 35 times to be hands-on, sitting elbow to elbow with the factory building. We hired a consulting agency for $50,000 over a year period to help match us with the right factory. We shot 44 factories around the world. I know you bought a lap lock. We were severely delayed.
It wasn't a GoFundMe, but it was something similar that you did. People who were initially interested, giving you some money to seed some of that work. Because I was like, that's a cool idea. I go to coffee shops. I hate to leave it when I go to the restroom or whatever, my laptop. That's a cool idea. I'm going to invest in a small portion of it.
That's a lot of people get confused. Only 7% of companies on Indiegogo actually produced a product. Believe it or not, they actually come out 7%. So to your opening line, 90% of startups fail. You're right, they do. And I see it. I mean, we've had some tough times in it hasn't been all peaches and cream. We've had some really tough days where the bank account's really low. And I'm the piggy bank. Everyone gets paid but me. We've got about a 50 grand a month burn rate, 40, 50 grand. If you don't have revenue coming in, what do? You raise money or you fund the business yourself. So I'm the bank. At the end of the day, our 12 employees, they need to be paid and you don't get paid. I've never taken a paycheck at TechLok in the 5 years I've been here. But so you have that pressure, if we don't have money and you got to pay your bills, it's coming out of me, which I've had to float sometimes. Anyhow, that's just the world of a startup and being a founder.
How many people did you have at Indiegogo that were interested?
We sold 25 grand of product on Indiegogo. Our goal was 10,000. And so it was okay. There's things I would do over again with Indiegogo. And I think Indiegogo is a consumer play. It's not a business play. And my gut tells me we're going to have a lot of consumers with TechLok. I think LapLock's really going to flourish in the B2B environment for bigger businesses that have high compliance, like government. If you work in a government entity, DOD, ICE, it doesn't matter. They have in banking, finance, legal, a lot of them mandate you have to have physical security on all your laptops. Have to. So if we're kind of one of the only games in town with a modern solution, that's a huge opportunity for us. It doesn't really cater to Indiegogo. So some of those factors, anyhow, I'm derailing. I could talk about Indiegogo a little bit more if you'd like. But that was almost 2 years ago. So, and we thought, okay, we're working with a factory. We'd found a factory. They've already started making some prototypes. This looks good. And going back to our biggest mistake, we hired the wrong consulting agency I'm going to let them be nameless, but their whole job is to marry you with a factory on the other side of the world, especially during COVID because we couldn't go there. So they married us to the wrong partner. We got divorced recently. We fired them. That, Beverly, was $1 million mistake. That cost us 2 years and $1 million. That's $1 million of hard money we lost. Time, effort, energy. To give you perspective, we only got about 500 units out of that factory. They were supposed to get us 50,000 units. So you talk about a kick in the chops. That was the number one. The new factory we found is phenomenal. We've got a handle on inventory, and they actually have the capability to make like 50,000 units a month, way more fitting and qualified. So the lesson learned is do your due diligence on really big decisions. There's a reason why big companies take a long time to make important decisions, because the ripple effect and cost of making the wrong one often puts small startups like us out of business. We had to get really scrappy. We had to raise an extra $1 million that we didn't think we had to. We had to sell a chunk of the company to keep us afloat. If we would have chose the right factory up front, we wouldn't have had that problem. And that was by far, it was $1 million hard loss in soft loss with tens of millions. Huge mistake.
How do you get past that? Like, what do you do to just raise the money and move on? Like, I mean, that's like a hard thing to get over as a business, especially a small business.
Yeah. If you make a mistake like that, 95% of the time that company folds because you just can't stomach it. No, we basically rolled up our sleeves and said, okay, we screwed up. Let's get back to work. So we had to find a new factory, which we found almost a year ago. We hired a guy named Ben, my VP of operations, who lived in China for almost 20 years. Looks like me, speaks fluent Mandarin. He knows sourcing. He knows, that side. And my dad does too, but my dad didn't go there, and he really couldn't because of COVID. He's kind of an at-risk COVID guy, and there's other reasons why I couldn't go. So we made a great key employee hire with Ben. We found and he negotiated. Actually, my dad's contact helped find our new factory, but we negotiated and got this other factory up and running, and we just persevered. That's all you can do. You just get kicked in the mouth and you go, all right, we got to pivot. And what people don't realize from the outside that haven't made a manufactured good. And I'll go back to my good friend, Brian Schneebly. He lived in the manufacturing automotive world in all about quality control and detail. And he actually gets this, but a lot of people from the outside that never built anything, especially from scratch, really just don't understand that, we come to these factories. We shut 44 factories around the world during COVID 4 years ago. And we're a little nothing burger company with a great idea. They don't know us from Adam. They don't know our background. You could tell them you're an entrepreneur of the year. Like, okay, well, what's your run rate? How many orders have you done before? Why are we going to build a whole section of our factory, hopefully in the hopes that this takes off? Our current factory, for them to start our line, to start the setup, the tables, the jigs, the tooling. Now, some of that we pay for. They have to invest about $500,000. So you're talking a tough sell from a company that doesn't have any run rate. It's easy to go to a factory and go, hey, we just did 20 million last year. We're going to bring you 300,000 lap blocks. They go, okay, great. Oh, it's proven. The design's done. It's not a prototype. The market's been validated. It's easy. Any schmo could do that. The hard is new. When you have very little money, you've got very little resources, you have no proven run rate, they really have to take a flyer on you. And so to find a good big factory is really hard. And that's why it is so rare. And why I think TechLok is so special is the fact we pulled this off in this new factory. If we didn't have this new factory, we'd fold. We just, you get to a point where you just say, no one can make this thing. This is in TechLok. LapLok is not an easy product. I'll tell you, it looks simple. It has been very complex. So that's the big lesson learned that, people have to understand when they're going into any entrepreneur journey, it's one thing to open up a pizzeria. It's really different when you're making something out of nothing and you have to kind of sell yourself along the way, to like your vendors. You think like vendors welcome your business. Well, not as a startup. There's a ton of risk.
Such an interesting take. I'm a service business. And I mean, obviously I've worked with companies who have a product, but it's mostly an established product. So it's a little bit different. And even when I started with the startup, I was more of a tech company. So it's a product, but it's like this cloud product. It's not like a tangible touch it product. So I worked with factories in China just to get custom bags made and things like that, which has been a nightmare. And gosh, if you even remotely get near Chinese New Year or something like that, the factory shuts down for months. It's like a whole process. So you have to kind of know the culture too you're going into as well. Like there's a whole nother layer of like negotiation and even some cultures will say yes, but they really mean no. So there's some of that in there. You have to figure out. Very challenging for sure. So interesting. So I've gotten to know you a little bit better and kind of like the business background you come from. Can you highlight a moment or an experience that sparked a unique opportunity in your entrepreneurial journey? Obviously, SaaS is one of them, but has there been other spark? The podcast is called Spark and Ignite. Have there been other sparks? I think there's so many in our lives where that it created opportunity for you to do something kind of amazing.
I got more sparks than Sparky Anderson. God rest his soul. Great baseball coach for the Tigers back in the day. No, I have ideas all the time, and you got to manage those sparks, because if you get lost in the new shiny object, you lose focus. And if you lose focus, you can really hurt the business. And, I've self-corrected on that a few times over the years, and it's probably one of my greatest challenges actually, because I have a lot of ideas. I'm an idea guy. It makes me good at what I am, but it also derails from laser focus, get stuff done. I really have a visionary characteristic, kind of DNA. And so, I have ideas. Now, what I am doing, instead of like different ventures, I look at things all the time. There's a business can be made here easily. That can be done here. This, that, and the other thing. I see that openly all the time. That's relatively easy. It's kind of a gift of mine. But what I'm seeing is vision within TechLok and how to make the company better with a unique lens. For example, I've got a call coming up at 11. This would be a good idea of a vision idea. Do you know the company LifeLock? Ever heard of LifeLock? Yeah. My 11 o'clock call is strategy on how do we partner with LifeLock. And I had that light bulb. They've got 100 million users. Their name complements ours. Their whole purpose is identity theft and cybercrime, which is part of our purpose. How could we partner? Like LifeLock sells for $100. What if I can get LifeLock to partner with us, branch out to their ecosystem? We carve up a deal that we can digest, that for everybody that buys a LifeLock maybe gets a year free of LifeLock as part of that package. So it was a unique way, which is like worth $100 in itself. And if we can structure that right deal with LifeLock, that's an innovative way to take a little unknown TechLok, LifeLock brand and pair it with a bigger known entity to give us credibility and complement each other. So that is a good example of a spark that I love doing, that type of thought, strategic partnership. That's a unique marketing sales angle that very few people could do. And that's my gift. So that's an example of, something that I think could catapult the company if we're able to get that deal done.
Looking for opportunities. And I think focus is really key. I think you're right, because most of the entrepreneurs I know struggle with focus. They just love the idea. The vision is the source fuel of an entrepreneur. Yeah. You're not alone in that struggle. You talked about doing like market research and different things. How do you identify and capitalize on emerging trends and opportunities in the world of your entrepreneurship? What is your process for that?
Emerging trends. For me, it's just, I see what I see. That's kind of all I could say. I don't have a process. You hear all this buzz about AI. You think of what's on the horizon or what's coming out, and then what could you do with it? And I think there's definitely ways to capitalize on emerging trends and build a business. But I'm just not really there because I'm not thinking about new businesses. And this is for other entrepreneurs that are looking to start something. My advice is, you could Google, like The Hustle is a great news article I used to read all the time. And they feed entrepreneurs new ideas. Here's the new trends. We've got the baby boomer community that's now aging in their 70s and 80s. Maybe could you start a home care business to go help them out. Home care, senior care in home is a huge category. Or if you're younger and you want to engulf the AI, Chat GPT, you can maybe learn a lot about it and go apply it to businesses that have, older leadership that don't really think. I mean, my dad is not into the AI chat. Like, could I take that knowledge and be a consultant for, kind of dormant businesses that aren't thinking along those lines? So yeah, you got to like follow trends and do that. For me, part of the TechLok journey in LapLok was I saw an emerging trend. I saw a work from anywhere. Now this idea was before COVID, and the work from anywhere hybrid world kind of didn't exist quite yet. And COVID really threw fuel on the fire to say, oh, okay, there's a big gap here in the market. And cybersecurity and crime were at all-time highs. Those trends in society kind of fueled our vision for TechLok. So that was an example of me seeing a trend or pattern in our workforce that we want to capitalize on. So you just see it when you see it.
Trust your gut, because there's something really powerful about that too, right? I think the older we get too, because 40s and approaching 50 here, the more wise we get to. Like we know, yeah, it's probably not going to work. Like we know how hard it is to do something now, as opposed to that's going to take a lot of time. Your dad, even that, you're going to need this tool and this tool. He already knows in his head what needs to be done because he's been there and done it before. Mm-hmm. So I think that wisdom helps guide that too, the gut and the wisdom you have from previous experiences. So, I own a marketing agency. So for me, marketing is really important as part of the entrepreneurial journey. What has been the most effective marketing tactic that TechLok has used, or even SaaS, to grow their business?
It's hard to say. I mean, I used to be about a decade ago at Continental when I was a corporate marketing director. 10 years ago, I was like a dinosaur. Like a lot of the stuff now is so different. And I'm really trying to get more knowledgeable and up to speed. We've got a great agency. Believe it or not, we hired out of Australia, of all places. What's unique is that we've been really in startup mode, Bev. Even though this idea started 5 years ago, with the factory issues we've had and only getting 500 units, we just haven't had the inventory. Now we made the pivot to build an ecosystem of work from anywhere products. We now have 13 products like chargers, different phone mounts, and laptop accessories that cater to that hybrid workforce. But marketing, we really haven't spent anything yet. I kid you not, our new website got done last night at midnight in the Philippines. It went live today. I've got a call in 2 hours to do a detailed review. Monday, we go live with paid search in Meta. Monday.
Okay.
I would honestly say outside of Indiegogo, we spent a little bit of money, which was kind of meaningless. Monday is when I would say we really birthed TechLok to the public. I've done posts, I've done organics, check us out or get a phone out or buy a Christmas thing. But we've done it very minimal scale because we didn't have that much product. We're not going to spend a bunch of money to drive people to the website and they go, oh, out of stock for 2 months. So finally, we have stock on almost half of our products come Monday. And then the other, in about 2 weeks, some of the other SKUs that we bought, like our 3-in-1 charger or 5-in-1, come in. By mid-March, we'll have all of our SKUs fully stocked. Monday, we're birthing this baby for real.
So exciting.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years. It's funny. I was going to do a post. I will do a post on this. I wrote down receipts of when I started putting money in to the company. It was almost 5 years ago to date. This is my receipt that I still have on my desk because we're about the grind. Yeah.
So I think one thing that I have found interesting as I've watched the social media journey of this new adventure, I guess it's not new anymore. It's 5 years, but it is a newer adventure for you, is some of the behind the scenes stuff that you've shared, like at the factory and things like that. Some of the videos and stuff along the way with the Indiegogo people or whatever like your community of people you've shared it with. I like that part. Like, I feel like, and I almost ask this question to everybody on the podcast, is the idea of storytelling to connect with your audience. So you all struggled to meet some deadlines and you were just like, hey, this is what's happening. And you made it really human and allowed us to connect more with the product by sharing some of those videos and behind the scenes kind of peeks in a way that was really authentic to me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, my patience was fine. I was like, fine, and I knew it was a new product and you were developing it. I didn't have an expectation for it to even come out when you said it was going to, because I worked in the tech startup world. I know it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
You have plans, but then there's this and then this and then this happens and it just happens. So the best laid plans, obviously, but then there's all kinds of things you didn't see or things happen. But I think for me, that storytelling aspect of the journey has been really powerful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop that. My 2 cents is to wrap that up in a really, really nice, like how hard it's been to get this product.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love, truly, of passion to get it out there. And I think that's such a human story, work really hard. If you look at the hero's journey, there's always a struggle, right? They have to overcome the struggle at the end of the day. So to me, that's been really powerful, the storytelling aspect that you guys have tried to sprinkle along the way for those of us that have been invested in the product for some time. That's what I've enjoyed anyway, as on the journey.
Good. A lot of people actually say that. A lot of people feel connected to me and are rooting for us as like a friend or, colleague, whatever, acquaintance. I saw this guy do posts years ago and all that he's been through. And I do all my reels are in one take. It's within 2 minutes. And I try to it's all authentic. I don't reshoot it like ever. And it's just like, we had a really bad day or this is great. I try to be upbeat and positive, but I could go on and on. And actually I'm trying to balance and better understand. And I like your feedback of I don't want to just do stuff to be on camera. I want to educate and I want to give real insight and perspective to people about what it is to have an idea, to see it to come to fruition and the pivoting and the challenges and the ups and downs. And I try to be very authentic on that. I'm not sure how much I should do. I do about 2 videos a week. A guy I spoke with yesterday, Armando, who we've done some consulting with, he owns a content company. So obviously he's all about content. He's like, you should be posting a couple times a day. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know that. Like, I don't know what to talk about, but I don't know. Do you think the balance of my content should it be more? I mean, you're a marketer. Should it be less?
Right.
Is it
right? I mean, you're putting this into my interview, which is interesting. But I would say this: you don't just do video to do video. Okay, you have to have an intention, and just like you had a strategic plan with your business, you should have a strategic plan with your content. And for me, and for companies like yours, I would build out content pillars, like 5 pillars. One is to educate, one is to entertain, one is to whatever that looks like for your company. And then you create content around that. So for me and my business, this is just an example of what I do with my content pillars, is I will create a blog post. And from the blog post, I'll create a video script. And then from the video script, I create a video or some kind of video content related to that content. And then from there, I create long form and short form. So I take the long form and I take bite-sized pieces out of it. So I'm producing content all the time, but I repurpose, restructure, and use my content differently, even though it's pretty much the same content. But that also, from an SEO perspective, a search engine optimization perspective, also it feeds the beast. Because you have one key phrase, keyword, or whatever you're trying to optimize for. And now you have all these pieces of content kind of leading to that key phrase. So you're essentially building a spider web of content around that topic. So I think you can not have to record every day, but you could create content and repurpose it every day. You can be more strategic about it. So even these podcasts, Ryan, is long form content, but I will take it and take quotes from you about specific topics in marketing and use that as a piece of content that reinforces that idea or whatever. So you can be really creative about the content you create and how you use it. And that's, I think, the power of plan, like having a really organized plan of how to create the content you want, what your people need, what your customers are like, that where you're getting the most engagement, and then feeding the beast that is social media and all of that. Cause it really is like, it has its own life and it's very organic and all things. So that's my 10 cents, I guess, in that. Does that make sense?
And that's flush with the agency out of Australia who we hired. They basically echo that same thing. It's funny. I was talking about LinkedIn, and we've got a big B2B play with TechLok selling to big companies with higher compliance standards. We're not for Joe's Plumbing. No, they're not buying lamp locks. But if you work for JP Morgan, I bet you have a policy you always have to have your stuff locked up. I said, well, we're going to do LinkedIn advertising, right? Like we'll be on the ads, and they're like, no, that's really a tough game. You need to be the advertiser in an authentic way to build credibility within your audience. It's way more powerful or impactful as the leader of the company to share your stories. You're not selling your product. You're being authentic about your storytelling, what makes you, your company, your people, your culture different, and have a real authentic connection versus just, I see an ad about laptop convenience and security. That's kind of like gone according to them.
It's kind of spammy and like sales throw up, which is not fun for anybody to have to like wipe off of them, right, in the process. So yes, I mean, being authentic, it was the word of 2023 by Merriam-Webster, was being authentic and sharing your vision, your mission, your core values, your process, your like why you have this business, your passion, all those things need to be reflected in your, it's not about some contrived, it's not about that anymore. It doesn't have to be so polished and so professional. It needs to be kind of raw and for it to be authentic. So the stuff that's going viral is not polished stuff.
Yeah.
It's the really vulnerable, this is hard to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's really hard for men. I'm going to make it a little bit of a stereotype. That's hard for men business owners.
For sure.
To make that connection. It's not something that's really even encouraged in our society. So there's a whole thing for you to have to kind of come to terms with, I think, in this space. And I do a lot of coaching with our clients about that. Like, no, that's very contrived. We're not sharing that. Like, and I kind of hold their feet to the fire because I think people want to feel like they're perfect. All of us want to be perfect. Like we all have this desire, I think, in general, to want to put on a strong face and a strong front.
Sure.
But being a business owner is hard. And I think that's the stuff that resonates in many ways. And why this product is so important to you. That's what resonates, not necessarily like, oh, here's this perfect product and all the perfect things with the perfect jingle and the perfect lighting. Yeah. So I agree with them completely. I know you have a call, so I want to make sure we get to the last couple segments. Okay. Brian, I have a lightning round, which is rapid fire questions. So it's just you kind of giving me an answer. We won't really chat about it too much unless I have a question or something.
On video. And it's like,
we use Loom.
Yeah, it's similar to Loom. I love that. I use that like 3-4 times a day when I'm instructing my virtual staff. It's great.
What's your favorite way to refocus or reduce stress at work? Like when like all the things are happening and you're like, how do you like regroup at work?
I would say exercise or alcohol. I need to say, but if I had a tough day, I'm a very social drinker. I drink at my house if I had a tough day. But try to get your mind off something. Like, if it's nice out, I'd love to go hit golf balls last night. That was like, I had a tough day and it was a good way to just not think about work and just get, take some aggression on some golf balls.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite marketing tactic?
If you count trade shows marketing, I think trade shows are great. In your question earlier about what's worked, we've done CES twice. We had phenomenal response. We just had a call with Target last week, came out of CES, Best Buy. I mean, a lot of these big guys go to CES. We walked away with over 100 leads. So I love trade shows. I like in-person connecting, authenticity. So trade shows for sure.
What's your favorite source of inspiration?
Probably Shark Tank, honestly. I look at it and I really can empathize with the people up there. Mm-hmm. And it gives me encouragement. We have a brotherhood of entrepreneurs that are going through a really tough journey. And so I look at that, it's on almost every night. It makes me feel better when like they've gone through hell too and they made mistakes. So
You are not alone. Yeah.
we're not alone. That's probably it.
Who's your favorite entrepreneur to follow?
Well, to follow,
Yeah.
I put my dad as an inventor, which I really respect his inventorship, but entrepreneur from a financial standpoint would be Stuart McClure, my old CEO, who's also an investor in TechLok. Tremendously successful, sold his last company for $1.5 billion. And I've really learned a lot from Stu, and he would be it.
That's the end of the lightning round. You survived all the questions. People get very stressed out about the lightning round. All good things though. And I think a lot of people don't know some of these tools exist or some of these avenues. So it's important just sharing that, and other entrepreneurs may find inspiration or insight from them. Our next segment is the Blaze Forward segment. And this is where you get to give advice to somebody else who's in business or starting a business. What would you, maybe this is even the advice you'd give yourself at 15, Ryan. If you know what you know now, what would you tell that 15-year-old Ryan about business and entrepreneurship that would be advice that would help them along the way?
Be really selective on the paths you take. There's a lot of ways to make a buck. One, do something that you're passionate about, obviously. Do something that you can digest as a person. A lot of people can't do TechLok. They don't have an inventor as a dad. They don't have the resources. They don't have a cyber. A lot of people can't do it. Just the same as I couldn't be a boat detailer. And so you gotta, have your own mini boat cleaning service. You gotta know your path, and you gotta really take a look at your strengths and weaknesses and choose a path that caters to those. I leverage your natural resources. I chose a path of inventing a product because my dad's an inventor. So maybe I should take advantage of that. So I found an idea, and I chose a path that could cater to that strength. Likewise, I just was with my nephew last week, he's got a big name in the boat business in Metro Detroit. His name's Hunter Velger. He's 23. He's a great kid. And he's kind of hasn't found his career path. I go, Hunter, you could go start your own mobile boat detailing. You work at a marina. Everyone knows the Velger name in the boat business. You could charge whatever you want and detail these rich guys' boats or rich women boats and clean them up. And you make a ton of money and hire a kid with you and pay him at $15, $20 an hour. So point to that is know your strengths and weaknesses, follow your passion, and be very, very selective on the path you take. I
think knowing your resources and knowing what you have around you, the connections you have. And there's people who are far smarter than me that are my connections that have helped me get where I am. Their advice, their wisdom, their experience, all those things are super important. And play off your strengths. That's great advice.
You can follow me just on LinkedIn. My full name, Ryan Angott, is one for weekly content about what I'm doing as an entrepreneur within our businesses. Business one is TechLok. That's techlok.com, TECHLOK.com. Site went live today. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. And, we're a great work from anywhere computer accessory brand that's new to the market. And the other business is Strategic Staffing. It's strategic-staffing.com, strategicassistantstaffing.com. That is great for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and startups that are looking for a helping hand or rates starting at $7 an hour, either full or part-time. Highly valuable to any business owner.
So another little piece of marketing advice, your website's never done.
I know. Couldn't agree more, Beth. But it's a great upgrade from where we were. We pivoted from product to brand.
Look at your gains and over your gaps. I mean, that's you're always moving forward and reducing the gaps, right? So the website's very organic. It's so hard for those of us who want to check it off the list. I want to check it off the list, but it's a constant retweaking wording and all of that. And, we need this there. And, where's the FAQs? And oh, we need a media page. Like it just constantly has to evolve, which is lovely, but also a lot of work.
I mean,
Totally fair.
I'm so glad it's here, but we've got a little bit more work to do this week for our
Push it
paid go
forward.
live week. But yeah, it's been a Herculean effort getting this up. And
Well, I thank you, Ryan, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure reconnecting and just hearing where you're at and how things are. Ryan's journey as a visionary entrepreneur and his dedication to helping emerging entrepreneurs navigate the complexities of business is always truly inspiring. So remember, success often lies in learning from those who have walked the path before us. Join us next time for more engaging conversations and insights. And until then, keep chasing your dreams and turning your visions into reality.